Sing and Donk posted 1:23.654 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Marcus Sing and Donk has a best lap time of 1:23.214. Dominic posted a 1:23.703 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There are just over 70 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 70 minutes left in this practice session. With just 69 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Zach Butcher is on their practice out lap. Marcus Singendonk has a best lap time of 1:23.214. There are just over 65 minutes left in this practice session. Singendonk posted 1:24.979 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? It's a lovely day for racing here at Silverstone 2005 International as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Marcus posted a 1:24.979 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Dominic Singendonk has a best lap time of 1:23.428. Butcher is getting to grips with the Audi in this practice session. Brian Patterson is on their practice out lap. Zach Butcher is on their first practice flying lap. There are just over 60 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 60 minutes left in this practice session. With just 59 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Dominic Singendonk posted 1:23.340 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Marcus has a best lap time of 1:23.158. Zach posted a 1:24.585 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Brian Patterson is in Maggott's corner. Zach Butcher has a best lap time of 1:24.585. There are just over 55 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 55 minutes left in this practice session. Patterson posted 1:23.572 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Marquez has a best lap time of 1:23.158. With just 53 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Zach Butcher has a best lap time of 1:24.585. Marcus Singendonk posted 1:23.567 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Dominic posted a 1:22.812 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Marcus has a best lap time of 1:23.158. There are just over 50 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 50 minutes left in this practice session. Brian Patterson has a best lap time of 1:23.175. It's a lovely day for racing here at Silverstone 2005 International as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. With just 48 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. John Astrop is on their practice out lap. Jimmy posted 1:23.882 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Marcus posted a 2:38.299 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Moll is getting to grips with the Civic in this practice session. There are just over 45 minutes left in this practice session. It's a lovely day for racing here at Silverstone 2005 International as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Glenfield is on their first practice flying lap. Jimmy Linfield has a best lap time of 1:23.622. Glenfield is in Luffield corner. With just 43 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Marquez has a best lap time of 1:23.158. Walters is getting to grips with the Honda Civic in this practice session. Rich Snape is on their practice outlap. There are just over 40 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 40 minutes left in this practice session. Glenn posted a 1:24.00 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Rich Snape is on their first practice flying lap. Martin posted 1:23.720 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Crispin Williamson has a best lap time of 1:23.631. With just 37 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Brian Patterson has a best lap time of 1:23.096. There are just over 35 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 35 minutes left in this practice session. John posted a 1:23.566 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Glenfield has a best lap time of 1:23.650. With just 33 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Martin Moll posted 3:08.144 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Crispin posted a 3:25.431 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Jody Fallon has a best lap time of 1:23.412. With just 31 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. There are just over 30 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 30 minutes left in this practice session. Jody Fallon posted 2:40.793 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Dominic Singendonk has a best lap time of 1:22.772. It's a lovely day for racing here at Silverstone 2005 International as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Marcus Singendonk has a best lap time of 1:23.122. Mac posted a 1:24.189 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 26 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. There are just over 25 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 25 minutes left in this practice session. Singendonk has a best lap time of 1:23.054. Rene posted 1:23.639 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Chris Stokes is on their practice out lap. Mac posted a 1:23.933 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Marcus Singendonk has a best lap time of 1:23.054. Patterson has a best lap time of 1:23.096. Walters posted 1:23.073 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There are just over 20 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 20 minutes left in this practice session. John posted a 2:22.235 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Bart van der Sande is on their first practice flying lap. With just 18 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Brian Patterson has a best lap time of 1:22.919. Martin Moll posted 4:43.716 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? John posted a 1:23.880 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? It's a lovely day for racing here at Silverstone 2005 International as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. There are just over 15 minutes left in this practice session. With just 14 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Chris Stokes has a best lap time of 1:24.123. Zach Butcher has a best lap time of 1:23.315. Brian Patterson posted 1:22.670 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 12 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Cormac has a best lap time of 1:23.882. Dominic posted a 1:23.288 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There are just over 10 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 10 minutes left in this practice session. Stokes posted 2:21.754 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 8 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Williamson has a best lap time of 1:22.676. Jody posted a 1:22.557 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Steve Michael is on their practice out lap. Rene Robertson has a best lap time of 1:23.049. There are just over 5 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 5 minutes left in this practice session. Butcher posted 1:23.218 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Daniel Coxis has a best lap time of 1:25.140. It's a lovely day for racing here at Silverstone 2005 International as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Danny posted a 1:24.419 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Steve Michael is on their practice out lap. Danny Darwin has a best lap time of 1:24.316. It's a lovely day for racing here at Silverstone 2005 International as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Steve Michael is on their practice out lap. Here we go, folks. The atmosphere is electric as the drivers prepare to unleash their machines on the track at Silverstone 2005 International for the qualifying session.
I think there's a few drivers out there who have the pace to stick in on pole.
This is where the mental game comes into play. Steve Michael is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run.
It's a delicate balance between taking it easy and pushing hard. Let's see how Steve Michael handles it.
It's all about strategy in these early moments. Clark is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run and get everything just right. You can feel the tension building. Assetto is out on track and getting ready to push for their qualifying time.
Patience is key in these early moments, Hal, but I have a feeling Assetto is going to make it count.
James Allen is on their outlap.
It's all about finding that balance between staying calm and focused while also pushing the limits.
Looks like that's a mistake from Darwin. This could be costly. It looks like James Allen is getting ready to make their move. They're taking their time to warm up those tires and get everything just right. Oh dear, Bart has had an incident. The adrenaline is pumping. James Allen is on their outlap, warming up the tires and getting ready to put in a fast lap time.
These are the moments that really matter. Let's see if Allen can deliver.
This is where the mental game comes into play. Mole is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run.
This is the moment they've been preparing for. Let's see if they can execute.
It's all about strategy in these early moments. Walters is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run and get everything just right.
They will want to get a good gap established for their first flying lap.
You can feel the tension building. Marcus Singendonk is out on track and getting ready to push for their qualifying time.
It's a delicate balance between taking it easy and pushing hard. Let's see how Marcus Singendonk handles it.
James Allen is on their outlap. Looks like that's a mistake from Steve Michael. This could be costly. The adrenaline is pumping. James Allen is on their outlap, warming up the tires and getting ready to put in a fast lap time.
Patience is key in these early moments, Hal, but I have a feeling Allen is going to make it count.
It's all about precision and speed in qualifying, and Crispin is nailing both.
It's certainly exciting to watch, but let's not forget the goal is to secure a good starting position for the race.
The pressure is on in this qualifying session, but Nigel Walters is rising to the occasion. This is what it's all about. John Clark is putting on a show for the fans in this qualifying session. This is where the mental game comes into play. Marcus Singendonk is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run. It looks like Daniel is getting ready to make their move. They're taking their time to warm up those tires and get everything just right.
It's all about finding that balance between staying calm and focused while also pushing the limits.
I don't know about you, but I think Linfield might have a secret rocket booster hidden in their car. They're just that fast.
It's amazing what a little bit of adrenaline and a lot of horsepower can do, right, Hal? Jimmy is just showing us all what they're made of.
It's clear that James Allen is on a mission in this qualifying session. They're pushing their car to the limit. Woohoo! Jimmy Linfield is really turning up the heat out there. I'm getting goosebumps just watching them go.
Is it just me, or does it feel like we're watching a superhero in action here?
Jimmy Linfield is absolutely smashing it. Oh dear, John Clark has had an incident. You can feel the tension building. Marcus Singendonk is out on track and getting ready to push for their qualifying time. Looks like Robert Cormack is channeling their inner Schumacher today. They're absolutely flying out there.
Well, Hal, it seems like Robert Cormack has got the need for speed, and nothing is going to stop them now.
I think I just saw a blur fly by. Oh wait, that's just Robert Cormack going at lightning speed. It's a blustery day here at Silverstone 2005 International, as we're getting ready to get things underway.
The tension's building now. This is going to be another great race.
Jack Bedding will have the best seat in the house starting from pole position.
But he can't afford to get complacent. He will have a target on his back now.
Jody Fannin is lining up second.
It's like they're on the outside looking in. Can they make their way to the front of the pack?
Martin Moll lines up in third place as the engines rev and the race begins. Sitting in fourth, it's Jimmy Linfield. The fifth position is occupied by John Astrop. Our sixth place starter, Crispin Williamson, is a driver who knows how to make up ground on the track.
They would have liked to be higher up, but that's not going to stop Crispin Williamson fighting their way through.
Rene Robertson is seventh. John Clark has qualified eighth. As the engines roar to life, Brian Patterson prepares to take off from the ninth position on the starting grid.
Starting on the mediums tires.
Sitting in 10th is Marcus Singendonk.
Lining up in the mid-pack.
James Allen will need to be on top of the game starting from 11th on the grid.
Where can James finish today?
Starting from 12th on the grid is a decent position for Bart van der Sande, all things considered.
They have the talent to make their way to the front of the pack.
Starting from 13th on the grid is a bit of a mixed bag for Robert Cormack. Nigel Walters is in a solid position starting from 14th on the grid. Glenn Field is placed in 15th. Lining up in 16th is Chris Stokes. Rich Snape is lining up 17th.
Sitting beside Chris Stokes, we've seen them battling before.
On the 18th grid slot we have Reese Bright.
Where will the B-class driver finish?
Dominic Singendonk is going to be starting from 19th.
Strong competition today.
Danny Darwin has qualified 20th. Steve Michael is 21st. Lining up in 22nd is Zach Butcher.
Steve Michael will be pressing Zach hard.
The race is on, and tensions are high as drivers navigate the first lap. One wrong move could lead to a collision in these tight quarters.
This is where the true test of a driver's skill comes into play. It's all about finding the right line and carrying as much speed as possible through the turn.
The drivers will need to be precise and calculated if they want to make it through this section unscathed.
And with so many cars jostling for position, it's a real test of nerve as well. One wrong move and you could be out of the race before it even really gets started.
That's right. The pressure is really on these drivers to perform. Maybe Jack Bedding hit the snooze button one too many times this morning, already losing places at the start. Someone must have told Brian this was a parade lap, because they're losing places like they're waving to the crowd. Seems like Jimmy is moving in slow motion compared to the rest of the field, already losing precious places.
For sure, all that effort in qualifying and practice, I'm sure they'll be kicking themselves right now.
The tension is palpable here. No one will want to make a crucial mistake on the first lap. The pressure is on whilst the field is bunched. Who can keep their cool and take advantage?
I'm looking forward to burning some rubber here, Hal.
Terrible news for Bedding, already losing places, and the race is just only getting started. It looks like Jack Bedding has been called into the pits. Bedding has decided to pit. Oh, this is getting intense. Rich is just behind Reese Bright.
And it's not just about skill and talent. It's about who has the nerves of steel to handle the pressure and make the right decisions at the right time.
The gap between Snape and Reese Bright is widening. It's now up to 0.3 seconds. It's neck and neck, the closest battle we've seen in a while. It's a solid performance from Dominic Singendonk at the moment. They're holding their position and not getting too caught up in battles around them.
Consistency is key in racing. Dominic Singendonk just needs to keep doing what they're doing and wait for opportunities to present themselves.
Steve Michael is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a tightrope between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play. It's a game of strategy now as Steve Michael hunts down Anthony. Yes, it's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike.
Fantastic move from Steve Michael, who has just gained a position.
Yes, Steve Michael is driving with real focus and precision, and it's paying off.
The fans are on the edge of their seats. It doesn't get any closer than this.
It's a battle of nerves now. Who will make the first mistake? Field or James Allen? This is high-stakes racing.
It's not going to plan for Field. They're still behind James Allen and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now.
This is a tough situation for Glenn Field. They need to find a way to pick up some speed and close that gap.
It's a thrilling pursuit as Cormac is right behind Rich, keeping the pressure on for 16th place. Robert Cormac has got their head down now, working those exits and apexes and setting their best lap time so far with a 1 minute. Van der Sande appears to be trying to find a way round Crisp and Williamson. They could make a move on them in Woodkip Corner.
Rubbing is racing. Let's hope they don't rub it too hard.
It seems like Bart van der Sande is on fire. They have just put in their best lap.
They are certainly in the flow, but they may have to improve further if they want to hold on to 6th.
The action is non-stop as Jack shadows Anthony Hilton through every twist and turn, determined to claim 20th.
These two are putting on a masterclass in precision driving. Every turn, every acceleration calculated to perfection.
Disappointing for Jack, they now find themselves in 25th. I think we just got time for a quick shout out to our human creators, Dave, Andy, John and Nigel, who have put so much effort into making this possible.
Yes, it's been a real thrill ride, and I for one can't wait to see what is coming next.
Apparently we're going to be announcing crashes and incidents soon. Let's hope they get the logic right. This is what it's all about, folks. Patterson is in hot pursuit of Zach Butcher, who's just trying to stay ahead.
As an experienced driver, I can tell you that Brian Patterson must be laser focused on Butcher's every move, looking for the slightest weakness to exploit.
Brian appears to be losing ground on Zach. They will need to pick up the pace a bit as they head into Priory Corner and see if they can get a good exit and gain some ground. Things don't look to be going Singendonk's way, as already they're into the pits.
That's going to be a big disappointment for them at this stage. Let's hope the team can regroup and make some sort of recovery.
It looks like Singendonk has been called into the pits. A solid performance from Coxis, who is holding down 16th. It's like watching two predators circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. Bright is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Chris Stokes at the moment. Heartbreak for Reese Bright as they slip down the field.
Definitely. But Reese Bright is a skilled driver, and they have what it takes to fight back and regain that position.
Hold on to your hats, folks. Moll is right on the heels of Jimmy Linfield, and we're in for a wild ride.
That's right. Martin Moll is determined to pass Jimmy and secure a higher position.
The best laid plans of mice and men are sky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Martin Moll right now as they're struggling to keep up with Jimmy. Look at the way the drivers are hugging those corners. It's like they're on rails.
Speaking of rails, did you know that the first racetrack was built on a railway in 1896? I bet those drivers were chugging along.
Ha ha, I bet they were, but things have come a long way since then, haven't they?
Definitely. It's amazing to think about the technology that goes into these cars now. I mean, they have more computing power than some countries.
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Marcus Singendonk is chasing James Allen in P9. Looks like that's a mistake from Reese Bright. This could be costly. This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Martin Mole will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops.
It's moments like these that make motorsports so exciting. We're witnessing a battle of skill and strategy between two great drivers, with Martin in fourth, determined to catch up. But we know Jimmy isn't just going to hand it to them on a plate. Martin is going to have to take it. It should be an interesting battle to watch as long as they can close that gap.
The battle for 16 is heating up as Mack tries to catch Nigel Walters in P16. It's not looking good for Mack. They're still behind Nigel Walters and the gap is increasing. They are going to need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around.
Mack needs to focus and keep pushing even when things aren't going their way. If they can close the gap down, they may be able to bring the fight to Nigel Walters.
Jack Bedding could be looking for a way up the inside of Steve Michael. Jack Bedding has just put in a faster lap than Steve Michael, so that's going to give them something to worry about. The race is really heating up. Brian Patterson is hunting down Mack with everything they've got.
The mental game is just as important here. Brian Patterson must keep their cool while putting pressure on McFarquhar.
It seems like Patterson is struggling. They're not able to maintain their pace.
Can Brian Patterson refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of?
We got a close battle as Rene Robertson closes in on John Clark.
This is where the mental game comes into play. Who will keep their cool under pressure, Robertson or John? It's anyone's race.
It seems like Robertson has got the bit between their teeth, improving on John's lap time there. The adrenaline is pumping as Lord Farquhar gets within striking distance of Patterson in their race for 16.
And the drivers know it too, Hal. They're giving it everything they've got, and you can see them pushing the limits of the car's capabilities. The gap between Mack and Brian Patterson is growing. It's now up to 0.4 seconds. This is a thrilling battle as Marcus Singendonk edges closer to James Allen in their fight for P9. The gap is 0.3 seconds now. Marcus Singendonk is going to have to work a bit harder to close that gap with James Allen.
It looks like Marcus Singendonk is making a move. The gap to James Allen is now down to 0.1 seconds.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. Both drivers will need to stay calm and focused if they want to come out on top.
It's a battle of wills out there, each driver trying to outsmart and outmaneuver the other.
If Brian Patterson isn't careful, they might end up turning this high-speed chase into a synchronized spinning routine. And trust me, that's not a crowd pleaser.
The gap between Patterson and Daniel Coxis is widening. It's now up to 0.4 seconds. Things are heating up as Robert tries to close the gap to Rich Snake.
You can see that car bouncing around as they ride the curbs. It's a risky move that could end in disaster.
It's not going to plan for Cormac. They're still behind Rich Snape and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now.
He needs to pick up the pace for sure, but I don't think they have it in them.
Wow, Brian Patterson is really pushing hard to catch up to Daniel Coxis. There's blood in the water for 15th place. A brilliant maneuver from Brian Patterson, who has just moved up the field. Daniel Coxis has a battle on his hands now as they come through Prairie Corner with Lord Farquhar hot on their tail. Look at this sky, what a shame for Daniel Coxis. They've lost P16 to Mac and that's got to hurt. Oh, the pressure is really getting to Daniel Coxis. They've just lost 16th spot to Mac and they need to regroup quickly.
That's right. They've got to stay focused and not let this setback affect their mindset. Meanwhile, Mac McFarquhar is showing some incredible skill and determination, and is now a serious threat to the other drivers on the track.
Nigel wants to find a way round Daniel Coxis. It looks like Daniel Coxis is pulling away from Walters. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through Maggots Corner.
It's not ideal for Nigel, but they can still turn this around. They need to focus on their own driving and not let the gap get any bigger.
A great moment for Walters, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings.
You can't argue with results like that. Nigel Walters is really making their mark on this race.
The intensity is off the charts as Bart van der Sande hounds Martin Mol, both drivers pushing themselves to the absolute limit. Bart van der Sande could be on a charge here. Sky, they have just put in a quicker lap than Martin Mol. Zach Butcher is running 21st. They are trying to catch Danny Darwin. Zach is not able to keep their pace consistent. So far they're 0.35 seconds down. It's a game of inches now as Van der Sande tails Martin closely, ready to capitalize on any mistake. It's game on now. Van der Sande has closed the gap to Martin Mol. It's now down to 0.1 seconds. It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Snape, who is currently in P13. But Robert Cormack is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Rich Snape. It seems like Snape is struggling. They're not able to maintain their pace.
Can Rich refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of?
Bedding is giving it their all as they chase down Nigel Walters in P18.
It's a fine line between pushing the car to its limits and losing control. Jack Bedding is really walking that tightrope.
Jack Bedding appears to be losing ground on Nigel. They will need to pick up the pace a bit as they head into Copse Corner and see if they can get a good exit and gain some ground. As they speed through Island Corner, Brian Patterson is relentlessly pursuing Reese Bright in a high-stakes battle for position.
This is the moment where legends are made. These drivers will go down in history as the ones who fought tooth and nail for the top spot.
The gap between Brian Patterson and Reese Bright is getting smaller.
This is what racing is all about. It's anyone's game at this point. Who will come out on top?
It's a battle of wills out there, with Zach Butcher trying to outsmart and outmaneuver Danny Darwin. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Will we see a dramatic finish to this race? It looks like we might get a battle between Zach and Danny Darwin.
This is where the race gets really exciting. Both drivers will be pushing to the limit to gain the advantage.
It's looking good for Brian Patterson, sitting in 15th.
Absolutely. And they need to keep driving with determination to stay in that position.
A tough moment for Brian Patterson, who has just lost a place, dumping them down to 17th. Things are heating up as Mac closes in on Daniel Coxis. The gap between them is down to practically nothing. Lord Farquhar is not able to keep their pace consistent. So far they're 0.37 seconds down.
Can Mac McFarquhar refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of?
A setback for Mac McFarquhar, who has just been passed. I'm sure Brian in 16th is starting to notice Lord Farquhar is right on their tail, and is still closing that gap. Can they hold on to their position?
It's an intense race between these two drivers, and Mac is going to have to try something here.
Tough break for Brian Patterson, who has just lost a position. It seems like Brian Patterson is struggling. Their last lap time wasn't as good as Mac's. This is what high-octane racing looks like. Stokes is breathing down the neck of James Allen, not giving him any room to relax.
This battle between Chris and James Allen is so intense you could cut the tension with a knife, or should I say, with a front wing.
It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Stokes gaining places and James Allen losing them.
Absolutely, Hal, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and Chris Stokes can't afford to get complacent. They have to keep driving with intensity and focus.
Jack Bedding wants to get into Nigel Walters' slipstream.
To achieve anything in this game, you must be prepared to dabble in the boundary of disaster.
Big gains for Bedding as they move up the field, leaving Nigel Walters behind.
Definitely, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and anything can happen. Bedding needs to keep driving with focus and intensity.
Looks like Singendonk is really pushing it to the limit. They're taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about finding the right balance between speed and control.
It's not looking good for Marcus Singendonk. They're still behind John Clark and the gap is increasing. They're going to need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around.
Marcus Singendonk is really going to need to push in Kopp's corner to try and gain some ground on Clark before they disappear into the sunset.
The drivers are showing their mettle today. It's a privilege to witness their skill on this challenging track.
The stakes have never been higher. This is a battle of skill and nerves.
That's right. These drivers are really pushing themselves to the limit, and it's incredible to see the level of focus and determination they're bringing to the track.
Absolutely. It takes a lot of courage to compete at this level, and these drivers have it in spades. Let's hope they can keep it up and give us a race to remember.
Seems like Lord Farquhar is getting in range of Daniel.
And they are poised to capitalize on any mistake. But who's going to make that mistake first?
This is where the race gets really interesting. Marcus is closing in on John Clark.
It's all about finding the perfect opportunity. Singendonk needs to stay patient and wait for John Clark to make a mistake.
It seems like Singendonk is struggling. They're not able to maintain their pace. The pressure is on for Daniel Coxis as they try to catch up to Lord Farquhar. Good news for Daniel Coxis, the gap to Mac McFarquhar has decreased. It's now down to 0.1 seconds. This is what racing is all about. Two fierce competitors pushing each other to the limit. An impressive showing from Zach, who has gained positions and left Danny Darwin in the dust.
Absolutely. Zach Butcher is showing great pace and determination, but they can't get too confident. There are still plenty of challenges ahead.
How do racing drivers, like yourself back in the day, Sky, train themselves to maintain concentration for long periods of time?
Mental training is a huge part of a driver's preparation, Hal. Techniques like meditation, visualization, and working with sports psychologists can help drivers build their focus and mental endurance for a race.
It looks like Jody Fannin has found another gear in the last sector of the race.
That's an impressive burst of speed. It's all but said and done now.
The leader has just finished the race. A fantastic result for Jody Fannin.
You could feel the tension building throughout the race, but Jody Fannin remained focused and in control. That's what separates the winners from the pack.
Impressive second place finish for John.
Intense race, but John Astrup held their nerve and earned a great second place.
Excellent focus from Linfield to secure a fantastic third place on the podium. Bart van der Sande, Martin Mol, Crispin Williamson, and Rene Robertson take 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. In 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, it's John Clark, Marcus Singendonk, James Allen, and Chris Stokes. Robert Cormack, Rich Snape, Reese Bright, and Mac McFarquhar in 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. With Jack Bedding, Daniel Coxus, Nigel Walters, and Brian Patterson in 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. Zach Butcher and Danny Darwin brings home 20th and 21st. 22nd sees Steve Michael. There's a little bit of wind in the air today here at Silverstone 2005 International, as we're getting ready to get things underway. Starting from pole position is the best possible outcome for Steve Michael.
But he can't get cocky. This is RRM Motorsport Club and anything can happen.
It's Danny Darwin, sitting comfortably in second. Coming in at third, we have Zach Butcher.
The Earthling driver will be focused on a good result from here.
Holding strong in fourth place is Brian Patterson.
Brian will be taking no prisoners today.
We're seeing Nigel Walters in the fifth spot.
But they're going to have to be quick out of the blocks if they want to keep up with the top performers.
The sixth starting position belongs to Daniel Coxis, who will be looking to make up ground early on.
They'll be looking for a clean race.
From the middle of the pack, we have Jack Bedding in seventh place on the starting grid. In the middle of the pack, we have Mac McFarquhar starting from the eighth position on the grid.
Another mid-pack start for Mac McFarquhar.
Our ninth place starter, Reese Bright, is a driver who knows how to make up ground on the track. Starting from 10th on the grid is a good position for Rich Snape to launch an attack.
We've not seen the best from Rich yet.
Robert Cormack may not be starting from pole, but they're still in with a shot.
But they've got the skills to make something happen.
Chris Stokes may have a bit of work to do starting from 12th on the grid. James Allen has got their work cut out for them starting from 13th on the grid. Marcus Singendonk is lining up 14th. John Clark is 15th.
The Earthling driver will want to show what they're made of today.
Rene Robertson is placed in 16th. Sitting in 17th, it's Crispin Williamson.
Mediums tires for Crispin.
On the 18th grid slot, we have Martin Mole.
Martin is going to have to show some skill from here.
Bart van der Sande is 19th. Jimmy Linfield is going to be starting from 20th.
Not a grid spot Jimmy will relish.
Lining up in 21st is John Astron. And they're off, with drivers now facing the unpredictability of the opening lap. With so many cars close together, the risk of an early accident is real.
This is where the real racecraft comes into play. The drivers will be looking for any opportunity to make a move and gain an advantage.
It's all about finding those gaps and making the most of them, especially in these early stages of the race.
And with so many talented drivers on the grid, you know we're going to see some incredible overtakes here in the first sector.
It's not just about making a move, it's about doing it cleanly and without causing any incidents. It's brilliant to see such a full grid here today. It looks like Glenn Field was channeling a sloth at the start, losing places as they crawled off the line.
Even the best drivers have off moments, but it's how they recover that counts. Keep your eyes on Field as they try to make up for the slow start.
The racing is normally closely fought here at Silverstone 2005 International. I think we are in for a cracking race.
Like gladiators, they enter hell. But instead of lions and swords, our champions fight in an arena of tarmac, and with fire-breathing machines of cutting-edge materials, designed to explore the very limits of physics itself in what can sometimes be very much a fight to the death.
Establishing an early advantage will be crucial to the outcome of this race.
Let's hope they all brought their A-games today.
There's some intense battling throughout the field as everyone is looking to get off to a good start.
The race isn't won in the first turn, but there have been plenty that have ended their hell.
Rich looks like they have got off to a flying first lap, gaining places straight out of the gate.
It's early days yet, but if they can consolidate their move, then it puts them in a strong position for the race.
What a move. Snape has moved up to 5th. Oh my, John Astrop is hot on the tail of John Clark. As they come into Maggott's corner, I'm sure they may have a cheeky peek up the inside.
At this rate, Astrop and John Clark are so close they could share a cup of tea and a biscuit.
Superb driving from the Kiwi, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race. Disappointing for John, they now find themselves in 18th. Things are getting spicy now, as Reese, Bright and Snape look to battle it out for 5th place. Great driving from Reese, who has just gained a place and moved up to 4th.
That's what we like to see. Reese is really showing their class today.
It's all eyes on this battle as Robert Cormack in 16th tries to hold off the challenge of the Kiwi. This is a tough break for Robert Cormack. They've just lost P16 to John and they have their work cut out for them now.
They've been focusing so hard on maintaining their position, and now they've slipped back in the field. Meanwhile, Astrop has been making some great moves and is now on the charge.
This is where legends are made. Which driver will rise to the occasion and claim victory?
They say rubbing is racing, but if Crispin Williamson gets too close, they might end up trading carbon fiber souvenirs instead of positions.
Williamson needs to get more confident. Sky, they have just put in a slower lap than Rene.
Can Crispin turn this around?
It's a close race between Steve Michael and Chris in 10th. Heartbreak for Steve Michael as they slip down the field. There has been an issue. Steve Michael is off the pace. The crowd is on its feet as Sing and Donk chases down Jody Fannin through Brooklands corner.
If this battle ends in tears, it could be like watching a high-speed domino effect. But let's hope they keep it clean and avoid any unplanned games.
Oh dear, Marcus Sing and Donk has dropped down to 15th.
That's got to hurt. Sing and Donk will be kicking themselves right now.
There has been an issue. Marcus Sing and Donk is off the pace. The Kiwi seems to be putting the pressure on Brian Patterson.
I might have said this before, but dog bone, you know the rest.
Looking at the lap times, John is not on pace with Patterson. Can they turn it around? You know, Sky, as a former racing driver yourself, can you give us some insights into what goes through a driver's mind during these quieter moments in a race?
Sure, Hal. During these moments, drivers often take the opportunity to assess their race strategy, monitor their car's performance, and plan their next move. It's all about staying focused and finding the right time to strike.
We've got an edge-of-your-seat battle between Anthony Hilton in 17th and Jimmy in 18th, with just 0.1 seconds between them.
Absolutely, Anthony Hilton in 17th is doing a fantastic job of holding on to their lead, but they can't afford to make a single mistake, and Jimmy Linfield is looking for any opportunity to make a move. This could be a battle to the finish line.
A tough moment for Anthony Hilton, who has just lost a place, dumping him down to 20th. Nigel Walters wants to close that gap with Rene.
If you're enjoying the racing, please remember to like and subscribe.
Walters is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Rene Robertson at the moment.
Can he get it together and reduce the gap?
The gap between Mack and Daniel Coxis is razor thin as they vie for first in this nail-biting contest.
If Lord Farquaad gets any closer, they might as well ask Daniel for a piggyback ride.
Oh dear, Nigel Walters has had an incident.
Nigel Walters is not going to be happy about that.
Look at that, Reese is hot on the tail of Zach. The The gap between Reese Bright and Zach Butcher is growing. It's now up to 0.4 seconds.
It's not over yet, but Reese needs to get a move on if they want to catch up to Zach Butcher.
It's a brilliant day for racing, and the drivers are putting on a show.
Absolutely. What a great race we are witnessing today. These drivers are giving it their all, and it's a thrill to watch them compete at this level.
They're really pushing themselves and their machines to the limit, and it's paying off with some incredible driving.
It's a pleasure to be here today, Hal. You really can't beat the excitement of a good race, especially one as competitive as this.
No room for error here. Bart van der Sande is breathing down the neck of Rich, waiting for the perfect chance to make their move.
Should things go south between Van der Sande and Rich Snape, we might witness a high-speed game of bumper cars, but trust me, it's way less fun with real race cars.
A brilliant maneuver from Bart van der Sande, who has just moved up the field. I'm curious, Sky, can you tell us about any pre-race rituals you had when you were racing?
Of course, Hal. Before every race, I would listen to a specific playlist of songs to help me get in the zone. I also had a lucky pair of socks that I would wear during races. It may sound silly, but those little rituals help me feel prepared and focused.
John Astrup is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a tightrope between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play.
The Kiwi has just put in a faster lap than Zach Butcher, so that's going to give them something to worry about.
The question is now, can Butcher respond to that in kind? They are going to have to pick up the pace.
It's neck and neck, the closest battle we've seen in a while. Crispin Williamson is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Rene Robertson to 0.1 seconds.
Exactly what Crispin Williamson needed. They can't afford to lose any more ground to Rene Robertson.
It's a thrilling pursuit as Linfield is right behind Glenn, keeping the pressure on for 17th place.
It's a thrilling battle for position as these two drivers give it their all. Who will come out on top? This is racing at its finest. The best laid plans of mice and men are Sky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Jimmy Linfield right now as they're struggling to keep up with Glenn Field. Oh, this is getting intense. Crispin Williamson is just behind Rich Snape. The slightest mistake from either driver could lead to a meeting with the barriers, and nobody wants an impromptu autograph session with the wall. It's game on now. Crispin Williamson has closed the gap to Rich Snape. It's now down to 0.1 seconds. Oh, this is getting intense. Jimmy is just a few car lengths behind Glenn. The gap between them is just over 0.3 seconds. Who will have the speed and skill to come out on top? And Jimmy has just won the place from Glenn Field. Go, 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 that's what we want to see. During your racing career, Sky, how did you determine when it was the right time to pit for fresh tyres due to tyre degradation? It was a combination of factors, Hal. Monitoring lap times, communicating with the team about tyre wear, and assessing the car's handling were all crucial in deciding when to make a pit stop for fresh tyres. It's an intense battle for position as Anthony Hilton tries to outmaneuver Danny Darwin. This is edge-of-your-seat racing. If Anthony pushes too hard, they might find themselves exploring the scenic route, and nobody's got time for sightseeing during a race. Anthony has just managed to set their fastest lap of the race so far with a lap time of 1 minute. Things are hotting up now, Hal, and it'll be interesting to see if they can improve further on that time. We are used to seeing some hard-fought but clean racing here at RRM Motorsport Club. I'm expecting to see nothing different here today as this race unfolds. Coming into Woodkit Corner, the fight for 6th is heating up. Who will be the first to blink? A great pass for Crispin Williamson as they pick off other drivers and move up the field. Meanwhile, Rich Snape has lost ground. Yes, but Williamson can't rest on their laurels. They have to keep pushing to consolidate their position.
This is what it's all about, folks. Astrop is in hot pursuit of Chris Stokes, who's just trying to stay ahead.
It's a battle for position as Astrop tries to make a move on Stokes. This is what racing is all about.
The gap between John and Chris Stokes is getting smaller. The action is non-stop as Martin Moll shadows John through every twist and turn, determined to claim 8th. It seems like Moll is struggling. Their last lap time wasn't as good as John's. The intensity is off the charts as Jack hounds Butcher, both drivers pushing themselves to the absolute limit.
Should things go awry, Jack Betting and Zach Butcher might find themselves giving a whole new meaning to the term tandem drifting, though I doubt they'd enjoy it as much as the spectators.
It looks like we might get a battle between Jack Betting and Zach Butcher.
He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
It's not going to plan for Nigel Walters. They're still behind Chris Stokes and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now.
This is a tough situation for Nigel Walters. They need to find a way to pick up some speed and close that gap.
We often hear drivers complaining about tyre graining. Sky, can you explain what that means and how it affects car handling?
Graining occurs when small rubber particles roll up on the tire's surface, reducing grip and negatively affecting handling. It usually happens when the tires are not in their optimal temperature window or when a driver is pushing too hard on a cold or overworked tire.
Hold on to your hats, folks. Jimmy Linfield is right on the heels of Zach, and we're in for a wild ride.
The chase between Jimmy Linfield and Zach is like a high-speed game of tag only. The stakes are much higher.
It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Jimmy Linfield gaining places and Zach Butcher losing them.
Yes, but they have to keep pushing hard. This race is far from over and anything can happen. Jimmy Linfield needs to stay focused and keep driving with skill and determination.
During your racing career, Sky, did you have any specific techniques to regain concentration if you felt it slipping?
Yes, Hal, I had a few techniques. One was to take a couple of deep breaths and briefly reset my focus. Another was to use a specific keyword or phrase as a mental trigger to refocus my mind on the task at hand.
The fans are on the edge of their seats. It doesn't get any closer than this.
Nigel Walters is following Chris so closely, they could start charging them rent for occupying the same space on the track.
Walters appears to be losing ground on Stokes. They will need to pick up the pace a bit as they head into Bridge Corner and see if they can get a good exit and gain some ground.
This is a frustrating situation for Nigel Walters, but they can't give up just yet. They need to keep pushing and hope for a mistake from Chris Stokes.
Zach Butcher could be looking for a way up the inside of Linfield. It's not looking good for Zach Butcher. They're still behind Jimmy Linfield and the gap is increasing. They're going to need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around.
Zach Butcher needs to focus and keep pushing, even when things aren't going their way. If they can close the gap down, they may be able to bring the fight to Jimmy Linfield.
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Jack is chasing Nigel Walters in P13.
Will Jack be able to make a move and pass Walters?
It seems like Jack has got the bit between their teeth, improving on Walters' lap time there.
We will have to see if Walters has got any answers for that.
We got a close battle as Martin Moll closes in on Snake. Martin Moll could be on a charge here, Sky. They have just put in a quicker lap than Rich Snake. Jody Fannin has the pedal to the metal chasing Snake.
Do they have the speed for a move? And more importantly, do they have the talent?
Big gains for Jody Fannin as they move up the field, leaving Rich Snake behind.
Absolutely, Hal, but there's still a long way to go in this race and Jody can't afford to get complacent. They have to keep driving with intensity and focus.
Jody Fannin has just put in a faster lap than Rich, so that's going to give them something to worry about.
As long as Jody Fannin can maintain that consistency and pace, it will be interesting to see.
It's a game of inches now as Bedding tails Nigel Walters closely, ready to capitalize on any mistake.
If things go wrong between Bedding and Nigel Walters, they could be exchanging more than just paint, like maybe a strongly worded post-race chat.
Tough break for Jack Bedding, who has just lost a position. The gap between Bedding and Nigel Walters is widening. It's now up to 0.5 seconds. It's like watching two predators circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce.
This is what makes motor racing so exciting. The tension is high and the stakes are even higher. Who will take home the victory? It's too close to call.
Nigel is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Chris Stokes at the moment. As a former driver, Sky, how did you manage the physical demands of racing?
It's all about preparation, Hal. Drivers undergo rigorous fitness training to build their strength, stamina, and flexibility. A proper diet and hydration plan is also essential to ensure peak performance on race day.
This is what racing is all about, two fierce competitors pushing each other to the limit.
As a former driver, I can tell you there's nothing quite like the adrenaline rush when you're this close to your rival, ready to make your move.
It's looking good for Jack Bedding, who has gained places and put some distance between themselves and John Astrop. Jack is not able to keep their pace consistent. So far they're 0.61 seconds down. This is what high-octane racing looks like. Reese is breathing down the neck of Coxus, not giving him any room to relax. It looks like Daniel Coxus is pulling away from Reese Bright. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through Farm Straight.
It's not ideal for Bright, but they can still turn this around. They need to focus on their own driving and not let the gap get any bigger.
Stokes wants to find a way round Clark. It's not going to plan for Chris. They're still behind John Clark and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now.
He needs to pick up the pace for sure, but I don't think they have it in them.
Seems like Snape is getting in range of Chris. It seems like Rich Snape is struggling. They're not able to maintain their pace.
Can Snape refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of?
Wow, Bart is really pushing hard to catch up to Matt. There's blood in the water for first place.
You know what they say, keep your friends close and your racing rivals even closer. Looks like Bart van de Sonde is taking that advice to heart today.
The best laid plans of mice and men are Sky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Bart right now as they're struggling to keep up with Matt.
This is where the mental toughness of van de Sonde comes into play. They need to stay focused and keep pushing even when things aren't going their way.
The adrenaline is pumping as John Astrop gets within striking distance of Nigel Walters in their race for 12th. The gap between John and Nigel Walters is growing. It's now up to 0.3 seconds.
It's not over yet, but Astrop needs to get a move on if they want to catch up to Nigel Walters.
Bart van der Sande wants to get into Lord Farquaad's slipstream. Bart appears to be losing ground on Mac McFarquhar. They will need to pick up the pace a bit as they head into Maggot's corner and see if they can get a good exit and gain some ground. This is where legends are made. Which driver will rise to the occasion and claim victory? Glenn is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Jimmy Linfield at the moment. It's like Bart has saved all their energy for this final stretch.
It takes a special kind of driver to perform under pressure like this. Van de Sande has certainly risen to the occasion.
The pressure is really on for Mac McFarquhar in first as Daniel Coxis is closing in. This is where experience and skill really count.
This could be where Daniel Kochish is going to dive up the inside. Mac is going to need to cover the inside, and that will compromise his exit speed.
What a win! This is a historic moment for McFarquhar, who put on a masterclass in driving today. What a display of skill and precision.
That was a true masterclass in driving from Mac. You could see them making split-second decisions with total confidence, and it really paid off. What a performance.
Van de Sande never gave up. They drove with heart and determination, ultimately securing a well-deserved second-place finish.
Brilliant. Bart van de Sande showed great skill and determination to take second place.
Well done to Reese Bright for securing third place on the podium. Daniel Coxis, Crispin Williamson, Jody Fannin, and Rene Robertson end in 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Coming in 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, we have Martin Moll, John Clark, Chris Stokes, and Jack Bedding. Followed by John Astrop, Nigel Walters, Glenn Field, and Jimmy Linfield in 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. Finishing 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th is Zach Butcher, Brian Patterson, Rich Snape, and Marcus Singendong. Taking 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd is Danny Darwin, Robert Cormack, James Allen, and Steve Michael.